Hi, my name's Lance from Teleline Paradise Datacom. I'm going to show you today how to exchange a mains power PSU in a QFlex 400 with a 48 volt DC PSU using a K3025 kit. Firstly, we need to open the QFlex 400 and remove the existing mains PSU, cables and associated hardware. Then the K3025 kit can be installed into the modem. Then there will be a quick electrical verification. So the tools you're going to need for this install are an anti-static workstation with a strap, a PSU number 1, a Phillips number 1, a flat bladed screwdriver, possibly some pliers, 5.5mm socket, or you could replace it with a 7/32 imperial equivalent, a small terminal screwdriver, a 2mm blade would work best, or the imperial equivalent is a 5/64 blade, and a pair of tweezers. On the modem there are 2 screws on each side and 6 on the top. One has a warranty seal. Before you break the warranty seal, you can contact us with the serial number of the unit. As standard, we offer 2 years warranty from the day the modem ships. We can check the warranty status, log it was upgraded in the field, and the warranty will not be voided. If the unit is out of warranty, then breaking the seal is of no consequence. So using your PSU number 1 driver, unscrew the cover as shown here. Using the terminal screwdriver, just unscrew the 4 terminal screws on the motherboard. So they should just come straight out. And use a flat bladed screwdriver to slightly just pry out that connector on the PSU. That should just come out quite easily. Now on the other side, just pry out that connector also. Might be a little tougher. It should just come out. So let's turn this modem over. Now the 4 screws that hold the PSU in, you can use a PSU number 1 to get those out. Shouldn't be any problems there. Now if you lift the modem, you should see the PSU and the plate are underneath. So just put those to one side and we'll turn the modem back over and we'll get the rest of those cables out. So use a Phillips number 1 to get the back plate out. There's 2 black screws that hold that inlet in. So those just come out there. Now we just need to remove the P-clips. So we're just going to put that fan cable to one side. Just remember to put that back, I guess. But yeah, we'll just get these 2 P-clips unscrewed. Just to make sure you get all the washers out of the chassis. You don't want any washers in the chassis once you put the lid back on. So this is where you need the 5.5 hex driver, or nut spinner as we call it. So again, just try and make sure you get all those washers out. Now there is a tooth washer that sometimes sticks to the chassis. So this is where you might need the pliers, or a lot of the time I use tweezers to get that off the screw there. But in this case, it was quite free. So just put all that, push that to one side. Now to get this mains inlet out, you have to remove the rubber boot, as we call it, and you need to squish it down so it fits through that hole. You should be able to just wiggle that out, so it should just feed out there, and that's removed. So now we're ready for the 48 volt kit. This is the mains kit that was removed, so this can now be stored for future use. So the kit itself will come in some anti-static packaging which can be unpacked, and these are the components inside. We have the PSU, which has the fixing screws in the bottom. We have the mounting plate. We have the M3307 cable form, the M3251 cable form, the label, fuse, and the mounting hardware. So initially we're just going to remove some screws from the PSU using a Phillips number 1. So this should just come out there, just put them to one side. In this example I used an older chassis. The PSU to supply a block up converter would normally be installed next to the mains PSU. If converting to the DC modem supply, then the supply will fit where the buck PSU would normally go. If installing a DC modem PSU and a buck DC PSU side by side in an older chassis, more holes would need to be made to accommodate the two DC supplies. In the newer chassis, these holes are already there. With the newer chassis, if you are not installing a buck PSU, then you can install the modem DC PSU in either position. So to install the PSU, take the plate and put the lip on the input side, and I'm going to install it where the buck PSU normally would be in this older chassis. So I usually just hold the PSU in place, turn the chassis over. So I'm just trying to line those holes. It helps just to put one screw in initially with the Phillips number 1. Now all the other holes should line up quite easily after that. Don't use any nut lock with these screws because it can cause problems later on if ever removing the PSU. So we'll just turn that modem back over. Now this is a good time to fix the label. This is the updated DC information. With a single DC modem supply, the fuse rating will be 3.15 amps. If you're also going to add a buck power supply, the fuse rating would be 5 amps, and you'll get a different sticker with the buck PSU kit, so you would use that one instead. Now is a good time to prepare the M3307 cable form. So select the 3.15 amp fuse and just use a flat blade to undo that holder there. So just slot that in. Now if you are going to use a buck power supply as well, then you would need to fit the 5 amp fuse, which would come with the buck kit. So we just feed the cable into the hole there. Now there's 2 countersunk screws that just screw into the back of the modem chassis. So with the cables, you want to choose the connector that's closest to your PSU, in this case the one closest to the back. So just slot that in there firmly. So now we're going to secure the P-clips with some screws. So I just put a crinkle washer on there, a plain washer, and just slot that P-clip over the cable where it will screw in. So yeah, just hold those washers on there and then screw it in place. Now there's a second one. Just slot that in there. So So again, just put the crinkle on first, then the plain washer, and then hold that in place while you screw down. So I'd just like to tuck that extra connector under that cable there just to keep it down, and don't forget to reconnect the fan to that header there. So the last thing to install is the M3251 cable form. So we'll just turn that modem around and just bend those cables so they fit in there nicely. Maybe you have a better technique, but I usually just wiggle them in and then secure the one that was hardest to get in first, and then screw up the rest. So you can see there the color coding. So it's red, red, black, black from top down. So now just take the other end of the cable, try and route it in that little groove there, plug it in, try and make the cable neat. There we are. So we're just going to temporarily put the lid on there, so just make sure that cable's down so it doesn't interfere with the lid. So we'll just place it on there, make sure it's flat. So we're just going to turn the modem round, ready for the electrical verification. We'll begin with a continuity check. Just check continuity there, and we'll just check there's no short across those terminals. So I'll just switch to resistance and just check for some low resistances. Nothing there. You may get some mega ohms with the capacitor on the PSU, that's fine. So this is where we're going to hook up the 48 volt DC just to check the modem boots. So the according to the label, the positive red goes on that side and the negative black goes on that side. So we're ready to apply power. So we switch it on, wait for it to boot up. I'll sped up the video so you don't have to sit through the full boot sequence, but I'll just show you how to check the voltages in a moment once the modem is booted. So here we are. So we press main and then 3 for view, and then 3 for unit, and then 3 for PSU and temp, and you can see the voltages there. You have the 24 volts, the plus 12 volts, and the core voltage, which is 3.30 volts. If they're vastly different, then do please contact us and we'll try and address the issue. The only outstanding thing now is to put the lid screws back in there to secure the lid with the PSU number 1 driver, and that's the install complete.